What's up 007 fans, Bored Now back with you, and today we're getting in touch with our feminine side as the casting process goes on for the next James Bond film. Today I returned to my own casting video. Last time I ran through some of the contenders for James Bond and who I think maybe should get the role, adding one or two wildcards in there as well. You can find that video on the channel now. Today I thought I'd continue that and take a look at some of the big names and some of the smaller names being linked with the role of the Bond. For fun on this video, I've added more like outsiders or ones that haven't been linked, at least not publicly, with the role, and I've thrown in a few wild cards. A little different when I'm thinking about who could be a good Bond girl, because really over the years the role of the Bond girl has changed. More recent ones have definitely updated the role and made it so that she doesn't necessarily have to be all about her glamour and her look. Still certain characteristics that you think of that's nailed down for a James Bond style role. I don't think that applies so much to Bond girls. I think it is a little bit more loose. If you like this video and you want to see more of this kind of content, you can like, subscribe, comment, and let me know some of your thoughts, like who you would pick. File this first one very much under, well, if the internet is to be believed, because one of the favourites to be the next main Bond girl is Sydney Sweeney herself. It's pretty fitting than a Bond movie which may have a better life on Amazon Prime could feature the clickbait artist actress herself. If Sydney Sweeney gets the gig and Lordy is 007, still a frightening possibility. Will it be Euphoria fans' wet dream or nightmare? Do. If there is romance between the two, it would be a bit cringe. Depending on what kind of Bond girl Sweeney is, I could see her being solid at least. Still with the elephant in the room, shall we? Because if you remove all the toxic politics aside from it and some of the stuff she has brought on herself in recent years, Sweeney I do think is a decent enough actress. The hate she gets from the internet and people calling her wooden, that is unfair. I'm not saying she's a world beater, and she's certainly not a favourite actress of mine, but whenever I see her in something outside of Euphoria season 3, but hardly anyone was on their game in that season, Sydney Sweeney is a decent enough actress. But that's just my opinion. Whether I can see her as a Bond girl, I'm not sure. I don't know if she's quite likeable enough. It's sort of funny when you go all the way back to one of the first things I saw her in, which was The White Lotus season 1, and she was perfectly cast in that, and at times kind of likeable in it, even though she was playing a bit of a shallow character. But Sydney Sweeney, I think the hate she's got as an actress has been overblown. I could maybe see her suiting an action style role, we'll see. What I don't want is her playing a floozy. I think that would just play into like the stereotype the internet has of her, and probably the way she's presented herself at times a little bit too much. It would be too on the nose, just making her overly sexy, glamorous. I think the franchise has moved past that, and probably in fairness, I think Sweeney, if she's got anything about her, maybe wants to move past that persona also. It would just be cheap pops for the far right. It's a no from me, but if she's a toned down Bond girl, it could work. And you can file this next one under Lazy Journalism 101, because Sydney Sweeney's Euphoria co-star Zendaya has also emerged as one of the favourites with the bookies. Not only could there be a Euphoria reunion if a Lordy gets Bond, need to stop saying that, her soon-to-be husband, Tom Holland, is another one linked with the lead role. If Zendaya gets the gig, it could be the first time in a while the Bond girl has a bigger profile than the actor playing Bond. Zendaya could be a very solid pick, especially if they go the quirky, nerdy route with her. One thing her role in Euphoria Season 3 has shown is she has pretty solid comic skills. Oh wait, that wasn't meant to be funny, you say? Even some of the early Bond girls thinks Jill St. John in Diamonds Are Forever, for example, see my recent review of that one, have shown this side, and it's a welcome side to the character, because, yes, Zendaya can be funny, right? Can't she?
You might want to start working out because you have trapeze rehearsals when you get here, and I want to use the stunt double as little as possible.
Similar to Holland, Zendaya maybe won't want to be tied to another big franchise. Don't forget, nowadays some Bond girls tend to star in 2 or 3 movies, because she already has the Spidey movies, and she's been faffing around a lot in the Endless June movies.
Our warriors couldn't free Arrakis from the Harkonnens. But one day, by Imperial decree, they were gone.
There's a lot of faffing.
This doesn't seem to be as big a problem nowadays. There's more flexibility when it comes to not appearing in more than one film. Even so, if there's a chance Zendaya might be tied to the franchise for a while, she may be not so keen. I would be fine if she got the gig, but actually think she would make a great modern Q. Book it, baby.
You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
Margaret Qualley, the daughter of Andie MacDowell, is one of Hollywood's fastest rising up-and-coming actresses after the breakout in awards-nominated body horror smash Substance opposite Demi Moore. She definitely brings what would be a quirky indie factor, a little bit more offbeat to the traditional Bond girl role. She doesn't seem too tied to the glamour of past Bond girls, so that would be a plus, at least if you're thinking in a more modern context. But she definitely has the cute, kind of adorable factor than you might need if you were going to have a romance between her and Bond. She seems to have the skills to play the role, maybe a more toned down, laid back Bond girl. She can be quite quirky and funny, but whether she can quite get the right balance, and you don't want to feel like the main Bond girl is too detached. You still need to have that sense of fun, I think. So that may be the only thing that's holding her back a little bit. I think she would be a very solid choice, very watchable. Again, it depends how the role's written. I'm not quite sold on Qualley yet as this really great actress than some people seem to think she is, but she's very solid. She seems to pick her roles very well, and it would be an interesting next step for her to be involved in the Bond franchise, because it would potentially take her up another level, and I would like to see how a Bond girl played by Margaret Qualley would look. By the way, one of her great underrated gems, I think, My New York Year, starring Sigourney Weaver, I thought was a very enjoyable coming-of-age film with Qualley as the lead in that, so I recommend that film. And Margaret Qualley seems to be in the running to be Bond girl. She seems to be within the top 5 for who are being touted. That's if the internet is to be believed. And she does seem to have a good connection with modern and more younger audiences, so I could see her bringing some of the 20-somethings, early 30-somethings to the franchise, and that's no bad thing. And one of the best up-and-coming British actors, Marissa Abadar, has also been mentioned as a potential Bond girl. She, of course, made waves and headlines as an inch-perfect Amy Winehouse in the recent Sam Taylor Wood movie. She really stole the show, along with maybe Jack O'Connell in that film. She was excellent, even if the film itself had its faults, and she's getting a lot of people talking. Also, the HBO drama series Industry has become a big sleeper hit, which she has become a main part of. She's already been involved in a spy movie, and that is the very underrated Black Bag from last year, which was Steven Soderbergh's film, and I do recommend that. I think it's a little bit of a gem, a little bit of a nice play on the spy tropes and genre with a good somber cast. Very exciting, very fierce Bond girl with a lot of energy and charisma, hopefully some physicality also, but she can do the more professional Bond girl tricks as well. I would be happy if Marissa Abadar gets the role, because I think she's a very exciting talent, and again it would be a big opportunity for her to appear in the Bond franchise. It would be fun seeing her as a kick-ass Bond girl and a more up-to-date Pussy Galore style character.
I don't suppose it'll be all fun and games. I'm a damn good pilot. Period.
Well, that's good news.
I need that car. Salute.
Hello.
You were excellent.
You too. Next time, stay longer.
I will.
Hey, a cigar for Felix.
Thank you. Come on.
Ciao.
The question is, why not could Ana de Armas return to the Bond franchise after such a fun, kick-ass and entertaining, eye-catching scene cameo in the last James Bond movie? Some people say it was the highlight of the movie, but then again they may just be haters of the movie. An iconic scene proving she could be both glamorous, sexy, witty, but also badass and kick-ass. You believed her in the scene. It was a great scene. You could do worse but to bring her back. Either you bring Paloma back but give her a bigger role, or make a new Bond girl for Ana de Armas. Whether she could excel as much in a bigger role, I think that remains to be seen. But she is one of the most glamorous, one of the most beautiful girls in the world, and she can do really effective action scenes and has plenty of charisma. So she wouldn't necessarily be my top choice for the Bond girl role, but I would be happy to see more Ana de Armas. Maybe the biggest contender to emerge, and the one I would put at the top of my list, is indie darling Anya Taylor-Joy, who has managed to mix the mainstream with the independent. As the look and the acting ability combined to really make for what could be a perfect Bond girl. So the perfect mix of mystery, nerdy, she's very exotic, very dark at times, but also has a lot of presence and charisma. Taylor-Joy has pulled off the trick of being a movie star without being a movie star. Her unusual but distinct look and acting style may be what the role needs. The Scandi actress could steal scenes while being the perfect foil for the film's lead and the arch Bond villain. The quirky, talented actress has shades of past Bond girls, but with the right script and enough screen time could leave her mark as one of the great Bond girls ever. I would be totally on board for Anna Taylor-Joy to join in the Bond franchise, and I think she's got a good chance. Likewise, as one of my followers, Becca, has said to me, a lot of these could easily be good Bond villains, and that definitely applies to Anna Taylor-Joy. I think her acting style leans to her moving both ways. They could even do a little thing where you're not quite sure what side her character is on throughout the movie and play with that, because I think the actress can pull that off very well. Florence Pugh is another one in the running for the role, and one of the ones who you could kind of see where they're coming from. It might just be the big role she needs at this point in her career. Pugh has this very grounded, tough, but also funny nature to her, where I think she could be a very likeable and funny Bond girl. She just has, even though she's, I think, quite a posh sounding actress, she just has this almost more chavvy kind of energy that she brings in her interviews and also to certain roles. We see her as a very understated but powerful Bond girl. Might just make it a standout role for Pugh. If Pugh does get the gig, let's hope she escapes the bizarre sexism suffered by her character in Nolan's Oppenheimer, which was one of the lowlights of an otherwise very good movie. But Pugh can pretty much do it all and is one of the favourites, and one of my favourites to be a Bond girl. So I'm going to rattle through some more before I leave. Gillian Anderson. Yes, Gillian Anderson. I know she's in her 50s. Bit of a rumour a while ago when there was talk of the all-female James Bond project. I love the gag Jane Bond. See what they did there? But hey, I don't think there should be an age limit on being a Bond girl, especially nowadays. She can be a very mature Bond woman, and I would be up for it in the right role. Obviously, I don't want to see her dating a 24-year-old Bond or whatever the case may be, but in the right role, I think Gillian Anderson's a great actress. She's forever an icon because of her role as Dana Scully, and she has proved a very diverse actress over the years. Thought I'd throw Gillian Anderson out there. Again, going to the quirky, nerdy option, Alison Hannigan. I don't know what she's doing now apart from appearing on Dance Contest, but forever loved for her role as Willow Rosenberg in Buffy, my favourite Buffyverse character. Brought plenty of comedy chops and quirks to that role. Always had great style and adorable presence. Hey, it's a bit of a wild card. I don't necessarily have that high up on my list, but Dreamcasting, wouldn't you just love to see Alison Hannigan in a James Bond film? And you get so many smaller roles and like cameos now, like who Dennis was such a random appearance in the last Bond movie, and that's not going to mean anything to anyone outside of the UK. Another wild card who I think could be a great choice, but Christina Chong, and Star Trek Strange New World fans would know her as the relative of Khan Noonien Singh. She's fantastic on that show. She was the best performer in the musical episode, has a very unique style and fashion to her, can play kind of down to earth, quirky but also nerdy, very attractive. She has the finesse and the comic ability, I think, to be an effective Bond girl. I like how she can be the casual girl next door 1 minute, but also very physical and tough the next minute. When she wants to be in Strange New Worlds, you believe her as this kind of badass, sort of odd and weird along with it, but have this surprising charisma. Christina Chong is a very underrated actress, I think. That's definitely my biggest wild card. Christina Chong, I'm putting it out there. It's the legendary Sigourney Weaver, yes. Now, I was saying before about how some of these picks could be like more like Bond villains. Well, Weaver falls into that because she's always very menacing if you give her a role as a villain. Not as sold on her as Anderson or Chong or some of the others I mentioned, but I could see her being a very professional, grounded tech Bond style woman who, again, maybe a bit like Anya Taylor-Joy, you could do this thing of she's caught between the two sides, whose side is she on, really? But in a cameo role, Sigourney Weaver could be good. I have also seen Emma Watson mentioned. Now, I'm very mixed on her. I'm not a massive fan. Obviously, she's a massive mainstream star. She's okay, actually. I think for a long time in the Harry Potter series, definitely in the early movies, she was the best of the three actors. That maybe changed over time. She's always solid. I don't find her a particularly engaging presence, but she's fine. She's probably too starry for the Bond franchise. Decent enough actress, but lacking in a bit of overall charisma, look, or charm. There's just something about Emma Watson where she's solid, she's fine, but she doesn't quite have that extra bit of oomph that I want, especially maybe in a Bond movie. Watson's best shot of getting the role may be her ties to producer David Heyman, and I think that's where the rumour has come from. Another weird wildcard one is Ariana Grande, who is best known movie-wise for the Wicked movies. I'm sure she was in that weird Amazon horror Me and Rachel did, the one set in the kitchen with the supernatural spirits. But she has been linked because of the talk of a celebrity musical act to bring event status to the franchise, like the Bond franchise needs event status. I don't want it, but she would probably be fine in one or two brief scenes, playing into her musical background. And another one linked is Emily Blunt, who's a brilliant actress. I just adore Emily Blunt. Could be a dream Bond girl on paper if it's well written. May also be too big at this point for the franchise, and could do without being a sidekick. That would be my worry, because as much as I like Blunt and she's been in some good movies, some of the films she's been in, I think she has been relegated to sidekick role. And I don't know if that's just because she's happy doing that stuff, or whether it's just that maybe they don't see her as quite big enough to sell a movie. There's maybe a little bit of that. I do like to see her get leading roles or more meaty roles, and I might be worried that she might become too much of a sidekick. If we ever get that female spin-off, Blunt may be perfect to lead that. So it's a maybe for me. I would be happy to see her. Depends on the kind of Bond girl they're going for, but you could do much worse than Emily Blunt. So my top 5 picks for the Bond girl role would be number 1, Anya Taylor-Joy, number 2, Florence Pugh, number 3, Marissa Abarca, 4, Margaret Qualley, and 5, just for the wildcard aspect of it and for going for a little older, mature Bond girl, I'll say Sigourney Weaver. Blunt as well deserves a mention. Thoughts on some of the runners for the James Bond girl role? Let me know what you guys think of this. As I said, I also did a video predicting who the next James Bond could be and who I would like to see the next James Bond be. You can check that out. I'll link it in this video, and I will return with my thoughts, my dream casting for James Bond villains, who should be the villain, the main villain in the next 007 project. But thanks for listening, everyone. Like and subscribe for extra content, and to support the channel monetarily, you can go to patreon.com/boardnow, or you can sign up at channel memberships, 3 different tiers. You can also hit the hype button, which helps get this video out to more eyes. Make a one-off donation at the super thanks button, or as I said, liking, subscribing and commenting. That's the easiest way to help me out. But thanks everyone, keep watching James Bond, and I'll see you next time.